This is the 21st season of Bass Talk Live. BTL is presented by Bass Cat Boats, Strike King Lures, AFTCO, Pro Guide Batteries, Spro, Gamakatsu, The Bass Tank, Denali Rods, Beatdown Outdoors, and Sunline.
BTL coming at you.
Good morning and welcome to another exciting edition of BTL Bass Talk Live, where we're going to talk about bass fishing. Can everyone hear me okay? I was messing with the audio before this, and I'm not sure if my audio is coming through. So in full disclosure, I tripped over the audio cord about 30 seconds before we went live, and I pulled something out, and I'm not exactly sure where it's going to go back. So let me know if you can hear me. If you can't hear me, sounds good. All right, we're going to roll with it. I have no idea if I'll be able to hear today's guest. We actually have two guests today. One is a multiple Elite Series winner and now a NPFL champion. Read that he ran over 700 miles in 3 days up in New York to get the oversized trophy. We'll just bring him in right now. Drew, can you hear me, Drew?
Yep, I got you.
I can hear Drew. People can hear Drew. That's weird that I can't hear Drew through my headsets, but we'll just roll with it like this. First of all, congratulations on a smallmouth bass win.
Thank you. Yeah, it's not really, I guess, what I would be known for, but I'll take it. It was a great week.
Have you ever done any smallmouth bass fishing not in relation to like a tournament prep or practice? Like you don't strike me as one of the guys who's just like, what are you doing? Oh, I'm going up to New York, or I'm going up to Michigan for the week just to mess around with these smallies.
No. Last year, after the Elite on St. Lawrence, me and Patrick stayed there for maybe 4 or 5 days, and then kind of did a little mini smallmouth tour. Went from there, fished our way to St. Clair, fished our way all the way up to Saginaw for an NPFL up there. So it was good. It was nice to go fishing, not in practicing for a tournament or in a tournament for smallmouth. I learned a lot, just kind of poking around. We were playing with a bunch of baits and stuff. We had a good time.
Talk a little bit about this derby. You guys took out of Messina, right?
Yep.
So for those who follow the tournament trail, there's really 3 main ramps on the St. Lawrence River. Sometimes they take out of Clayton, which is roughly 5 to 10 miles from the actual mouth of Lake Ontario. Then probably the most popular place to take out of it is Waddington, which is another 45 probably miles, 30 to 45 miles further away from Lake Ontario in the proper river. And then even past that, another 10, 15 miles is Messina.
Yeah. I think it was 18 from Waddington, and it was like 100 miles, to the mouth of the lake, 100 and something.
And did you put all your eggs in that basket from
Absolutely.
the start? Like, as far as just kind of talk about what your game plan was. This is one of the earliest major tournaments. I think BPT was there a while back when that was kind of where the you can only catch one fish once rule kind of came into effect after that, because there were still a lot of fish on the beds, but a lot earlier than the Elite Series has ever been there. Typically in August or September timeframe when the Elites are there, those fish are out deep. There's not any that are actually still on beds, but with that early July, like, your game plan was to know you're going to make long runs and try to find as many giants as you could.
Yeah, pretty much. And I really wanted to find enough areas that whatever way the wind blew, like, I was going to be okay as long as I could get to them. And that's pretty much what I did. I fished 3 different areas all 3 days because, somebody'd see you in an area, especially after the first day. The first day, The first day, I guess I fished 2 areas. But like I went there and I went to go catch that fish. So like I started on a 6-pounder, I caught it, and then I went and caught a 474. Then left and went and caught a 5 something and another 5 something, and finished my limit out on a 520 and headed back. The first day of that tournament was probably the best tournament day of bass fishing I've ever had.
No way.
It just like the plan that I had was perfect. Every bass was there. Every bass bit. I landed every one of them. I was so far ahead of schedule all day long because like I knew I was going to start on that 6-pounder and it was going to be weird. And, it was going to take me 20 minutes, 30 minutes to catch it. Caught it on the first cast. It was like, let's go, And it was every one of them was just like that. And it was a really good time.
I'm trying to pull up a map here. You drove how far to catch 1 6-pounder?
I started at like 102 miles.
So you drove 102 miles for one fish?
Yeah, I caught it and then left and went, another 15 miles probably. Caught 2 there, and then we were kind of backtracking, coming in, and caught my last 2.
Holy smokes! And had you caught that fish in practice, or did you just know that it was locked?
Yeah, I caught it in practice, and then I was like wishy-washy on that whole deal. You always hear the people, catching them, weighing them, and I went like half and half with that. But I mean, every one that I caught in practice and weighed, that I fished for in the tournament, I caught except for one, and I watched it get caught by somebody else.
Really? I'm gonna pull this up real quick on the Omnia app right here just to show what you're doing. So there's Messina right there on the river, and you're running all of this. There's Waddington right there. You're running all of Waddington. There's Ogdensburg. You're running all of that all the way through this. Alex Bay. You can either go around the backside or you can go through the American Narrows right here. It just kind of depends on how you want to do that. All the way out into there's Giant Wolf Island where you see a lot of stuff go down typically.
Yeah.
All the way out into Lake Ontario. So when you look at it, that is basically a poke from that to that. Did the weather just line up perfect this week, or was the second day a little bit choppy on you?
It all worked out really well. I think the thing that worked out the best was it was terrible in practice the first 2 days. It was so hard to get out. I was really hoping it was going to be rough all 3 days of practice, where it keep a lot more people off the lake. But like the second day out there on the lake, the only boats you saw were all like elite guys, like people that were pot committed too. Like all the guys that were going no matter what. But if it had that last day of practice, it was like dead slick calm. Wind didn't blow at all, so like everybody went out there, and it made it a lot more crowded than it would have been. But at least it wasn't perfect weather all 3 days of practice, because then there'd have been just a pile of people around there and would have been a little bit different. But the tournament it wasn't bad at all. The only thing you have to worry about there, more so than anything, especially like when you're out there in the lake and you're like, man, it's so nice and calm. Those people up there do not work, and they've got giant boats, like huge boats, and they do like 16 miles an hour and throw a 8-foot wave just like everywhere they go, just like lollygagging around. So you got to deal with all those in the river coming back, and you can really short yourself on time that way because you're dealing with that. And then you throw in at least 2 barges or ships that you absolutely have to slow down for. So So there was a lot of people that were late this week because
Oh, really?
yeah, I think there was like 5 or 6 on day 2 that were late. Some of them ran out of gas. Some of them were just actually late. But yeah, everything went according this week.
Yeah. You looked at the giant weights. I don't think it was any surprise that big weights were going to come in this event. Obviously, the highlight of the NPFL, and one of the highlights this year is no forward-facing sonar. Do you think that impacted this tournament at all, or do you think a lot of the guys in the top 5 would have done the exact same thing, regardless of 0, 1, 2, or 10 transducers?
I think the weights probably would have been better, honestly.
Really?
There was a lot of fish in that 12 to 15 foot that had just got done spawning. There was some pre-spawners, but like it was right on the verge where you could see them with your eyes, but you couldn't really see them. And I think if they would have been scoped, that's probably how it would have been dominated. And it wouldn't have been surprising if there was a 30-pound bag, honestly. That's how many of those big ones were out there.
Wow. So like a week earlier, and it would have been absolutely nuts.
Yeah.
A week later, it would have been a lot tougher. You were right there where you could still make it work, but it was challenging.
Yeah.
Are you cool going through like your actual setup for what you were using for the bedding fish, and then what you were using for the cruiser fish, how you were keeping those big 5-6 pound smallmouth pegged?
Yeah. So for like it was just a drop shot and a wacky rig. I mean, that was all I was throwing. The drop shot, it was a Dobbins Ecstasy. It's a new rod that I just got, honestly. It's a 610 1 power, but 16.5 pound Sunline All Might to a 10 pound V hard leader. But I think the key for that one was I was using a 1/4 ounce drop shot weight and like a little bitty number 2 Gamakatsu split shot drop shot hook. And when I say I think that was the key, there was a lot of guys trying to do the same thing, but they were throwing like 3/8 and half ounce drop shot weights. But I was seeing them like 40 yards, up there. When you threw a 3/8 or a half ounce, like its presence was known whenever it hit the water.
So you'd literally see them dodge, duck, dive, dip, and dodge on a heavier drop shot weight. Like
yes.
Those fish kind of knew that there was a game being played and they were a critical component of it.
Correct.
Really?
So like holding it whenever you threw it, grabbing your line and like feathering it to where it hit the water and just like it just barely hit was a pretty big key. I was using a CJ Smasher and a couple of different other baits on that drop shot. And every day was kind of different. Like black was really big one day, a chartreuse and green pumpkin was really big one day, and then black again. And there was no real difference in the weather. It was just different moods for the fish. But the wacky rig, I caught a bunch of fish on a wacky rig too. Do it pretty much the same thing. But a lot more of the cruisers that I saw, I caught on the wacky rig. Ones that weren't actually on bed, they were just up there. And that was on a Ecstasy, Dobbins Ecstasy 723 with 16.5 pound All Might and 10 pound V hard again. But that time with a number 4 Stinger Gamakatsu hook and soon to be released Spro wacky rig bait that me and Drew Benton designed. But that thing, you have to deal with current there too. So like you had to make sure you got it up current of whatever way they were headed so they could see it. Like you wanted to get it way up in front of them and you wanted it to be like this far off the bottom whenever it got to them. You didn't want it to be way up here. Some of them would absolutely commit suicide on it. There's no doubt about that. I mean, they'd eat it off the surface. But most of them, they wanted it to be like that far above the surface or above the bottom, as it's kind of going through the current by them. But that was pretty much my 1-2 punch on that.
It's interesting you mentioned that V-Hard, which is actually a fluorocarbon leader line that Sunline makes. It comes in like a little blue pack, but like you weren't saying, I didn't hear 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 pound tests. Like you were throwing some rope on the fluorocarbon side of it. Yeah,
10 and 12 pound V-Hard was what I was throwing. Because man, I was fishing for dumb ones. I didn't have enough time to really mess with bass down there because I was running 2 hours one way. So I already had only 4 hours to fish Like I was going down there to catch dumb ones, big dumb ones, and to catch them. I'm not the greatest smallmouth lander, especially when they're shallow. Now deeper, whenever they come from 30 foot, like they start bloating, and they're a lot easier to land that way. But when you catch them in 4 foot, like shit hits the fan, and like, there's just nothing you can do about it. So I wanted some big line to be able to land them, and I caught some on 20-pound line. To be perfectly honest with you, like it really didn't seem like it mattered all that much. But I couldn't, for my drop shot, I couldn't use over 12-pound line because I couldn't tie it in the hook that I was throwing. That's what capped me there.
Or else you'd have just kept going up until they stopped reacting. I mean, so the small hook, is that just a hook to land ratio makes them harder to throw it? I know there's a lot of really top level smallmouth guys who you'd be shocked at the size of the drop shot hook that they use for bigger fish. It's almost like they go smaller when they're targeting bigger fish for a better hook to land ratio.
Yeah, it was. I played with a bunch of different hooks in practice. I played with threading, played with nose hooking, and the number 2 split shot drop shot. But it seemed like those big ones, that have their lip it's got a bubble. It seemed like they'd get it right behind that bubble. The eye would just barely be, out of their mouth, and you didn't have to worry about chafing. You really did not have to worry about them coming off. The only thing you had to worry about was them breaking you off on a rock.
Listen, I know you guys go to Thousand Islands a lot in your career. You'll continue to go to Thousand Islands. Part of the reason why I think a lot of the elite series and veteran anglers did so well in this is you get a guy who's never been there. That was me a while ago before my first open. You get on the water and you're like, my God, this current is way stronger than I thought it was. It's way easy to get turned around in here. There's all sorts of ways to catch them. I mean, it's a very easy fishery to get distracted on.
Yeah.
Did you feel that
get caught up on like catching 380s to 420s, and those are nice bass.
Yeah,
don't get me wrong, but that you will not win. You cannot mess with those fish. You have to keep going, and those are the ones that group up in massive schools, like hundreds of fish, and they'll be like 1 5-pounder, so like you get sucked into that. And like, dude, the first day of this tournament, I only caught, I think, 7 bass. But I didn't throw for the sheer fact of catching fish. Like every time you catch one of those on a spinning rod, it takes 2 minutes, at least. So I do that 30 times. Like you run out of time. I'm already short time. I don't need to waste any time. So like just wing dinging around. If I did do that, I was throwing like a chatterbait on 20-pound line on a big rod. Set the hook, flop them in the boat, and keep on trucking. Now, whenever I got into, a place that had some nice ones, I'd pick up a hair jig and just throw the wacky rig around. But just going on a flat, no, I was not throwing.
Is that bait that you and Benton, that wacky rig bait, is that an iCash release, or is that something that might be like classic next year?
Yeah, it's going to be a soft release at iCast.
Can you show it today, or would you get in trouble if you showed it today?
Oh, hell with them, I'll show it.
I'm interested in this. Drew Cook, unreleased. One of the first looks ever at the new prototype wacky. Now, knowing Drew, he's got a bunch of stuff, so who knows how long it's going to. Oh, he's right at it.
Yeah, they're still in the game day box.
And this is you said this is a Spro plastic? Look at that. All right. Oh, all right. Walk me through that real quick. You're going to get a call from Sid, who's going to be like, what the hell? Yeah, but hey, you can have him call me. I goaded you into it.
Yeah, it's your fault. No, it was a bait that we designed. I wanted to kind of combine everything. I wanted a really good wacky rig bait that was not all that fat, so it would skip really well and had a lot more action as it sank. Something that would honestly was for bed fishing throwing around largemouth mostly, but something that would get them to come up. They'd see it better, and it's got a lot of really good action. And man, these things stink. They're infused with some top secret smell good. And I'm really excited about this one. I've caught a lot of bass this year on this bait. I caught a lot of bass at Hartwell in that elite Pasquotank. I caught most of my bass on it. And then this is all I have left. These are the only ones I have left.
The tail on that looks a little bit more perhaps like that swimming worm paddle tail on it than it does like a ball. It's like it didn't seem like it was like a ball on the end of it. It seemed like there was some unique shape to it.
Yeah, there
you go. Yeah, you got to go the opposite. It's like when you first back up a trailer. Okay.
And it's not like one of the ball ones where they kind of like rotate like this going down.
Yeah,
It's more like
okay.
It like flies its way down.
If you're lucky, I don't do show clips. That's buried at the 24-minute mark forever.
No, but I'm really excited about that one. It skips really well too, and it fits a stinger. I kind of built it around a not a B10 stinger, but the G-Finesse stinger, and it's been pretty good. You can also cut it down. I've caught a lot of bass at the Pasquotank.
Were you using the titanium weed guard or not on that?
Largemouth, I will. Not this week. No, I was just putting a hook on it. But you bite one end of it off, and it's an awesome little Nico bait.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I didn't see that coming.
Yeah.
There's the hook right there. That's that stinger, that G-Finesse stinger. That's actually built around a fly hook.
B10.
Yeah. And then they actually just came out. I think that's also might be another iCache release. Is they put a keeper on it right there if you want to thread a little bit. So like there's a new one with a metal keeper that comes off and it's a little bit further down the shank. So if you're throwing those 4 and 5 inch minnow baits and want to thread it on, that's kind of what it's designed to do. And then the other option for that, when you were talking about the largemouth, is that right there.
Yep. Love that hook.
Yeah, that's a good hook.
I've caught many a bass on that thing.
Are you a skewer or are you one of those guys who uses like a ring or one of those? Like, how do you keep that bait in there?
Yeah, smallmouth, I didn't put a band on it, but I used, and this bait, I can show you one that doesn't have one on it. This bait's got it's got a groove in it.
Yep.
For the wacky band.
Yep.
But I use the ones that have the
Very
little
nice
keeper on top of it, so it always keeps your hook.
Yep. So you were rigging that horizontal, so you wanted that bait to fall, so when you pulled it, it would make the motion. Whereas on the Nico, you put it vertical in line with it, so then your hook is always doesn't impact with the plastic.
Yeah, and your bait doesn't fall over sideways. That's what happens whenever you hook one sideways Nico, and your bait will fall over sideways. It blows my mind that people still do that when they're Nicoing. Some good ones. I mean, some really good Nicoers. But that bait, it literally, when the hook's out the side, it just drags it down. When it's straight up, a little bit of tension, it just stays just like this the whole time.
Give me your top 3 wacky wormers on tour right now. Elite
Cox?
Series 4 BPT.
Cox, Ottefo,
Ott Defo, number 2. I know he just won a little bit using it on the Potomac like that, but that's no. I mean, I think
I don't know who the third's going to be. Honestly,
it's got to be like one of you, like you or Benton, doesn't it?
I don't know. I catch a bunch of bass on.
What about Brandon Cobb?
Cobb, there you go. That is, yeah.
That one came to mind too. It's John Cox far and away, and now he uses the general. It's no secret for that. But amongst the wacky guys, is Cox like far and away number one, 1A,
No doubt.
almost sacrilegious to say anyone other than John Cox. What makes him
No
so
doubt.
good with it? Do you think he catches fish on a wacky rig that other people can't catch, or do you think it's because he knows how to get into the best areas to catch those fish? Is it an area deal, or is it what he actually does with the bait?
A little bit of both, but I think a lot of it has to do with like he just keeps it so simple, like stupid simple. Like he's gonna throw these 3 things and he's gonna fish for the bass that bite those. And that's such a great mentality, and that's why he's always consistent and always does good, because he fishes for his fish, and I feel like that's a huge thing to do, is fish for your fish. But I've also seen Cox do some really, really cool stuff with a wacky rig. Learned a lot from him, and I'll just say he's not just letting it sink to the bottom.
So is that kind of like a wacky rig? You look at it, you cast it out, you let it do its thing, you twitch it a little, you let
Reel it in,
eat
throw it
it.
up.
But here's the deal: it's more like a crankbait or something like that, to where the guys who are at the very, very top of it tweak it, change it, do little things that can trigger bites that the average guy who just thinks like a plug is just cast out, crank it in, hope one eats it. But there's a bunch of little tricks to generate bites. Same thing with the wacky worm. It's just interesting. I never even thought about it like that. Very interesting. What are your thoughts on the NPFL this year? I look at the official leaderboard for this event. You, Welcher, Upshaw, who has been a touring pro, is not this year, but then Walters, Atkins, Canterbury, Christie, KJ Queen. Those are the top 8 right there. A lot of what I would say established tour Elite Series veterans at the top, and then the Angler of the Year looks very similar to that too. Talk about the 2025 season for the NPFL, kind of what the vibe is. Good to have all of the Elite Series guys kicking butt, or it is what it is, or what are your thoughts on that whole scenario over there?
No, I love it over there. I've had a blast the past 2 years fishing over there. I think probably the biggest deal is, there's no cut in the NPFL. Everybody fishes all 3 days, and when you leave those guys out there for 3 days, like they're gonna figure it out, and like that's probably why because when stuff's not going right the first 2 days, like they're gonna change it up. They're going to go somewhere different, go do something different, something they haven't done in practice. They're not scared to go for it. But also, they're not scared because there's no points. There is points, though. That's not the right way to say it. But, like, on the elites, if it doesn't go right the first day, you go straight to prevent defense. You are trying not to get kicked out of the elites, trying to stay in the classic, trying to, keep your job, just make a check. Blah, 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 all that stuff. The NPFLs, it's like, I think a lot of us are over there fishing to fish competitively for fun, because it's such a points numbers deal on the Elite Series. I'm not saying that it's not fun. It still is fun, but like it's so stressful, going into some of these events, because your mind's just going what you have to do, where you have to finish, what's going to happen, how is it going to happen. In the NPFL, we're just going fishing, and that's all it is. It's just fishing. So like when you let some of those guys, you let a Greg Hackney go out there and have some fun, like he's gonna catch their ass, and
then fish
has.
3 days. Who has decades of experience in micro adjustments.
Correct. So like you leave those guys out there on the water that long, they're gonna figure it out, and they're gonna steadily climb up the leaderboard.
Kyle Welcher, Patrick Walters, Greg Hackney, Brandon Cobb, Scott Canterbury, Drew Cook, Gerald Swindle, KJ Queen, and Caleb Coupal. And then Jason Burrows. That's your top 10 over there on the NPFL. You good for one more short segment? I'd like to get back to talk a little bit Elite Series, a little bit ICAST, things like that when we come back.
Sure.
All right, it is Drew Cook at home. As I see, he's already got it. Got the $100,000 check there up between two nice bucks in the background like that. There's just something about a big cardboard check that just feels really good getting a big check.
Ain't no doubt.
Holding that thing up, seeing the 5 zeros on it. So it's Drew Cook, BTL, on a Monday, July 14th. It's ICAST week. We'll be back right after this.
The new Puma STS has been redesigned from the ground up. With the angler, design, function, and performance in mind, nothing on this new offering was compromised, and the only thing carried over from the previous version is the name. Based on the Soft Touch series hull that started with the flagship Jaguar, this new model is nimble and performs incredibly well at all speeds with either a 250 or 300 horsepower engine. Featuring a new 96-inch wide-body footprint, this hull measures out at 20 foot 7 inches in length. Industry-leading design coupled with tournament-winning performance. The Puma STS from Basscat. Feel the rush.
As a professional angler, there's only one thing that connects you to your paycheck. Probably the most crucial part to tournament bass fishing. I use Sunline because they have a line for every application. Shooter, FX2, All Might, super light line, big stuff, big sticks. Sunline has you covered.
Sharp as can be. Super strong, super durable.
Really good penetration.
Thinner and stronger.
Catch fish after fish.
I want to make sure that I'm using the best stuff possible.
World's finest hook. World's finest hook.
Gamakatsu, world's finest hook.
All right, welcome back, BTL, on a Monday. I was going to run a couple more ads, but I thought it was kind of badass to bring you back in after the
those are like
Gamakatsu ads.
Commercials. Yeah, I love that.
It's the Drew Cook is a badass show right now.
That's pretty cool. I've never seen those commercials before either.
No, they do a good job on those, don't they?
Yeah.
I get a new set of them. I get a new set of them there from the OBT about every 6 months. I did have one more question. So, we showed that map of Ontario, and I could care less where you were out there because I know you're going back there, and the Elite Series and whatever you fish will go back there till the end of the time. So exactly saying where you are and whatever doesn't make it. But I just picture, I fished some opens out there. I fun fished out there before, and you get that glass day where you can go to the Ducks and you can go to Stony and you can go to the Bay, or you could head way out off a Wolf, and it's just way bigger than anybody can understand until you've been out there. How did you know where you wanted to start? Like, how did you figure out where you wanted to look for these fish? Because quite frankly, you could look for literally 1,000 miles.
Well, they had off limits on us.
They did.
Yeah, it was from like Prince Edward, like halfway down Prince Edward to like Mexico Bay, which is, hell, we didn't have enough time to go any further than that, honestly. If Mexico Bay would have been open, I might have looked at it just because it's kind of like untapped, so far away. But I had a game plan of somewhere that I could get far enough away, but still have enough time to fish, and like just some places that I had some history with a little bit, and that I'd laid eyes on before, because I was only going to have one nice day of practice, and like everything else was going to take forever. Whenever it's rough out there, like if you want to go to the next point's like 5 miles. So when you're doing 13 miles an hour, like, it takes a long time to get over there.
And it looks weird because you can see it right over there. You're like, I'm just going to go over there. And then you're like, what? Am I even moving?
Yeah. It's just like being in the ocean around them oil rigs. You're like, there's another rig right there, and that rig's 25 miles away. And so it's kind of like that. But I wanted, somewhere I could be efficient with my practice that I had and be efficient during my tournament day, to fish it.
Mm-hmm. On the Elite Series side, 2 events left. You're in 24th in the Angler of the Year standings. It's an interesting position because, I mean, you can push if you want to, but the Angler of the Year is out of range, and you're 40 points to the good to make the Bassmaster Classic, which I know how important that is to a professional angler, making the Bassmasters Classic. I also know it's not in your nature to play it safe on a couple of fisheries where the risk versus reward is a real factor in St. Clair and the Mississippi River. What's the plan?
The game plan is to get to the top 10. Keep the stats up. I don't like being that far down there. I just had honestly, Oklahoma. I hate Oklahoma. Oklahoma hates me.
Because there's no grass? Is that why?
No, I've had the worst luck ever in Oklahoma, and I think I fished like 6 events there, and like some crazy stuff's happened every time. So like Oklahoma really got me pretty good. But besides that, it's been a decent year. But I don't want to have another year like I did last year. I think I finished in 22nd or something like that. I want to, get back to up there in that top 10 because it helps you in every aspect. I mean, if you can say, 5 out of the last 7 years you've been in the top 10, like that's something that a sponsor will look at.
Yeah.
But also saying you made the Classic every year is pretty big too. So like we're not going to do anything to jeopardize the Classic, but we're not going to lay up, put it that way.
Is it hard to believe that you've been doing this full time for 7 years now, Drew?
It is hard to believe. And at the same time, it's not hard to believe. I feel like I fished 2 years of tournaments this year. Like I've fished so much. Hadn't been home a whole lot. But it is when you think about it. It was like, dang, I felt like I was a rookie like last year,
Yeah.
And really, it didn't. Whenever we were at Hartwell and on the last day, doing the drive-through weigh-in, and he said the veteran Drew Cook, I was like, me? Like, but I guess to Paul Mark, I was a veteran compared to him. He was a rookie, but still, I'm kind of in that awkward teenage stage. I'm right there in between the rookie and the veteran.
Winning makes it a lot easier, doesn't it?
It does. It helps the cause, most definitely.
Not just financially, but also sponsorship-wise, solidity, approaching new sponsors, working on baits, a lot of the stuff that we've just talked about. Like having no one above you on the leaderboard at least once every couple of years solves a lot of issues that people complain about in professional fishing.
Correct. A lot of the saturation disappears whenever you're able to do that.
Yeah. What's the biggest thing you've learned? Like, go back to your rookie year to now, like something that you look back on that you were like, boy, that was crap when I was the first year, and now that's something that I'm one of the best in the world at, on or off the water.
I would say efficiency. I think that's probably like the biggest thing that nobody knows about in our world, being efficient. I used to practice probably really terrible, but I was good enough at my homework that I was in a good enough area to begin with. But like early in my career, like I'd practice weird and have a bunch of good stuff, but like the first day I'd either try to run a lot of it or all of it to see what was good, whatever, and I would have a bad first day, and I would settle in day 2 and I'd catch them and then steadily climb up. But you cannot win doing that. Like, it is impossible. You can make top 10, but you can't win doing that. And then I would say like staying in whenever your deal is around, like you've got to do your deal. Try not to listen to the doc talk about everything else. Like, go do you. Because a lot of times that's, if you do your thing, whenever it's not all that, it's not a full blown, sight fishing tournament or something like that, but you do it to the best of your ability, you probably make a top 10 doing it while everybody else is, herring fishing, stuff like that. And, me and Benton have both, we've, done really well in tournaments that we weren't supposed to, sight fishing. Like, oh, it's not going to be, there's only a couple of them up on bed. It won't last, won't make it to the weekend. And, like Benton won an elite doing that. I finished second, I think, at Santee. And it wasn't supposed to happen, so.
You still having fun doing this?
I am. Still having fun.
You going to ICAST?
I am going to ICAST.
Are you going to have fun at ICAST?
No, I'm tired.
What does an ICAST week look like?
Isn't what it used to be though. Like, I think ICAST is
trending down.
ICAST is dying.
Trending down,
correct,
so to speak.
Everything that's getting released at ICAST, like you've pretty much already seen it. You saw it last week.
Mm-hmm.
So why go? What's the point? If you've already seen it. But an ICAST for me, I'm gonna wake up at like 5 o'clock in the morning Wednesday, get in my truck, drive straight to ICAST. Got a couple hours at each booth Wednesday, and I've got 2 hours that I'm not held down somewhere. Got some meetings to do and just some poking around with some new people. Go check some stuff out, see what's new, and obviously we have a dinner Wednesday night, and then do the same thing Thursday till about lunch, and then I'm headed out. That's
fair. Do you know when people will be able to get their hands on that Spro Wacky worm? I do not know. It won't be long. I think probably October. Okay. And is it's not elastomer or anything? Is it salted? It's like little salt, little sand, little. Okay, so it sinks right. Yeah. All right. I guess it was revised quite a few times. We've got this a swim bait, like to buzz around, like a dipperish type bait, and a crawl for bed fishing, and that the crawl bait's gonna be legit. Sweet. You have to see it in the tank. It's pretty badass. All right, I'm gonna let you go, Drew. I appreciate it, Matt. Thanks, man. All right, that is Drew Cook. Another $100,000. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, the guy just got his hands on a couple double-digit fish and a plethora of 8, 9, 10-pounders. We had Josh from Pro Bass Adventures on a couple weeks ago talking mainly about El Salto, and then the Kings of Bass tournament, Kings of Baccarac tournament that he had. And then I saw that Rod Wynn, you've seen him. He's been done some stuff with Sunline and on Best on Tour from California. He was down there at Baccarac, and I was like, man, give me a little bit of behind the scenes, how it actually went. And they were like, well, we'll just get you on the show to talk about it. I know he was just down there for 3 days. Josh was down there with him. So we'll talk to Rod Wynn when we come back. It is BTL on a Monday, July 14th. We'll be back right after this.
Beatdown is efficient.
Rock solid.
100% American made.
This thing is super tough. I mean, this thing is not going anywhere.
I've ran the Beatdown double stack from Florida all the way up to New York. And the one thing that I know is when I get to my fishing destination, I never have to worry about issues with my graph mount.
Your options are endless with these mounts, but they're steady, they're solid. These are the most reliable mounts on the market, and you can't go wrong with the Beatdown.
When you're ready to hit the water, Denali Fishing has you covered. Regardless of your skill level, from beginner all the way up to tournament pro, Denali has rods, reels, and tungsten to get the job done. Check them out at denalifishing.com.
Everything you need, one legendary brand. Top on Strike King.
Gear that just plain works. Cast after cast after cast. AFTCO. Any fish, any water.
All right, welcome back. Detail on a Monday. Now, I was thinking during that commercial break, we did a show last week, and we talked to a couple of younger anglers and talked a little bit about, where the sport's headed, the direction, the influx. It wasn't that long ago when the dink and dunk, the spinning rod, was kind of looked down on. I mean, they called it the fairy one. Now it's odd to see someone catch a giant fish unless you're throwing a glide bait that's not on a spinning rod. But just that interview with Drew, whenever I hang out with him around the media events or he's at an event, I'd throw Drew Benton in that. Brandon Cobb falls into that category. Wes Logan, who just won, also is another angler in that category. But are they the last class of old school style anglers? Like, to me, like, Drew Cook has a little bit of Tommy Biffle in him, a little bit of Denny Brower. He's going to do things his way. He's going to keep it simple. He's going to look for what his strengths are. He's going to throw a jig. He's going to look for that heavy cover, the grass, the punch, the wacky rig. And then they're all in their kind of that low 30s range. But I'm looking at the guys who have come up after him, just that kind of hard nose, rip the fish out, going to do it my way. It's I don't know. It's interesting. There's no like yes or no or right or wrong answer to it, but I think he's part of the last class of old school tournament anglers. Some guy who has gotten his hands on a couple 10-pounders recently is Rod Wynn. Rod, thanks for jumping on BTO.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you so much.
You get that vibe from Drew Cook, though. Like, he's just like a old, like, you don't want to show up with Drew Cook when the water's like off color and 2 foot high. Like, you know you're about to get your ass handed to you.
Yeah, exactly. You're 100% correct.
Kind of old school. So, welcome to BTL. I know you've listened to the show for a while. Met you at the Classic. We're actually at Pro Bass Adventures. When I met you, had your good buddy Todd Woods on, who had a great show, talked about kind of his 40-year career that he's had out on the West Coast. But I opened up my Instagram a week ago, and it's like, reality win, headed to Baccarac, run it, let's go catch some giants. And I'm like, oh, cool. Someone I know is going to go to Baccarac. We've had Josh on a couple times, but I've never been to Baccarac. So last segment, I know you got to get out of here pretty soon to do your civic duty.
It's so sad, man. I try to avoid it so much, especially having a job where I'm always on the road, but they were adamant about me coming to jury duty, so I got to hop off and go to that pretty soon here. But I'm excited to be on the show. It's a great pleasure, and I thank you so much for having me.
All right, let's talk Baccarac. First of all, what made you go to Baccarac in July? Because I've always just thought, man, if I'm going to plan a trip to Mexico, it ain't going to be in the middle of the summer. But it seems like it turned out pretty good.
Yeah, to be honest with you, it just works around my work schedule. I currently am an event producer and truck driver, so I work 100% over the road. Like, just give you an example, last year alone, out of 365 days, I spent 285 in a hotel. So it just worked well with my schedule. I know it's not the ideal time that most people think because there's monsoons and all that stuff going on, and it was a lot of rain when we were there. But luckily, it was only overnight. Every time we came in for dinner, it would start raining and thundering and lightning. And by the time we went out the next morning, It was really nice, but it was extremely warm.
And then the fishing style, from where I've been, I've only been to Mexico down in what you would call the pre-spawn stage. These were true kind of summer pattern bass. It sounded like from what you were chucking.
Yeah, to be honest with you, that's one of the main reasons why I'm so in love with that place, because that was my first trip going down there. And being a West Coast fisherman, guys who fish California, Arizona, Nevada, things like that, the way the fishing set up when we were just there was exactly how I like to fish. And I know this might be kind of frowned upon with a lot of people, but I'm not that guy who likes the Delta. I don't want to pitch a worm or jig or punch and picking grass off my bait every cast. I don't enjoy that. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Neither do I.
I enjoy fishing humps. I enjoy fishing points. I enjoy fishing 10 to 25 feet of water. And that's exactly how these fish set up. They were all offshore. They were all on point. They were all on humps. And I was able to bomb 6XDs, 8XDs across the points, across these humps, and catch a ton of fish, in addition to catching them on shaky heads, wobble heads, and also, yes, sir. And also, we found out what was the best bite that turned out to catch both of those double digits was the free rig. The free rig with a Mag Fatty Z by Z-Man was the ticket. As soon as we started fishing a free rig with that Mag Fatty Z, it was lights on.
So I've never talked with anyone about this, but I don't get the free rig. To me, it's just a unpegged Texas rig. Why does it work better? I mean, the free rig is a Texas rig with a drop shot weight instead of a bullet weight, right? But there's that much of a difference between a free rig and a Texas rig?
You know what? I'm not going to jump on that wagon and say that it is, because I feel what you're saying. I feel like it is similar to a Texas rig. I don't know the difference. It's kind of like, I guess, something different for them to see. I think it's the same. But the trick was that Z-Man worm is a float, Z-Man products.
Yeah, the elastomer.
So with that Elastex, once you're shaking that worm, it starts to float up just a little bit. Even if it floats up a little bit, it gives it a different look than what any other traditional worm you would throw on a Texas rig or a free rig.
Did you keep track of your days? Like, what did your best day include? Like, if you were to do like numbers and fish wise and size wise?
It was hard to keep track, to be honest with you. I mean, I can't sit here and say, we caught hundreds of fish. We weren't catching 100 fish a day. No, I would say we were probably catching anywhere between 40 and 50 fish a day.
That's pretty strong.
Yes, but with the best 5 going, each day, honestly, I'm not going to say my best day, but on average, the best 5 would go probably 40 pounds. That's on average. But my last day, we started fishing at about 5:15. By 5:55, because I had this, I posted this on my Instagram. We started fishing at 5:15. By 5:55, I had 30 pounds for 4 fish. And then I caught my 5th fish, which was a 10-pounder, a 10.5. So I had 40 pounds in less than an hour.
Oh, yeah, here it is. 5:55 on the final day. Here's a 9.6. Also had an 8.4, a 7.6.
Yes.
6.3.
And the crazy part is, like, a lot of those fish would come, like, on the same cast. When I say the same cast, where you're making the same cast, going to this casting at the same tree, the same spot. You're like, boop, there's 1, there's a 7, boop, there's an 8, there's a 9, and you got those 3 fish in like 3 casts, and that would happen very, very often. So, I definitely got really spoiled, and I understand that was like one of the last trips of the year. Like none of the other lodges are even running trips down there. Pro Bass Adventures are the only ones running it. And we had a blast, and I'm looking forward to going back in July, but I'm definitely going back before July, because that place spoils you greatly.
Yeah.
It's pretty bad. I have a confession to make where I'm laying in the bed at the lodge for the last night. I already had fished my 3 days. This is the night before I had to fly back home, and I said to myself, I'm going to sell my boat. And if you know me, I love my boat. I love everything about it. I love being a boat owner, being able to go fish out of it. But it really spoils you when you can go down there and catch that kind of fish in such a short amount of time. Because even in living in California, it's not easy to catch a 7 to 10 pound fish, especially anymore. Back in the day, it was a little easier. but you'll be lucky to catch a 7-pounder these days. And here we are, like you were literally getting upset or shaking off, 7-pounders. Like you're like, get off. This is 7-pounder. You're saying get off, because I want to make another cast.
Mm-hmm. Do they have the Ultrexes and LVS 34s and all that on all the boats down at Baccarac too? And then, legit question, it sounds like you're throwing stuff that wasn't, you weren't like hitting fish on the head with a minnow. You were like blind casting to them.
Correct. And that's yes. So to answer your first question, at Pro Bass and Ventures, all of their boats are equipped with spot lock or anchor lock trolling motors, so that's a great thing because first of all, the guides all have a remote control, so they're never on the front deck with you. You have the whole front deck to yourself. They just simply sit in the back seat and control the troll motor that way. So that's fantastic. And yes, none of those fish were forward-facing sonar or pinging a minnow. All my fish were traditional fishing, and it all aligned greatly because that's how I wanted to catch double digit. I'm not one of these guys who is a forward-facing sonar hater. I enjoy it, I embrace it, but I wanted to catch my fish traditionally, how I've been doing my entire life. So that's how it was happening for me. Now, Josh, on Josh's front, Josh was there at the same time,
passed it to him.
And he has been smearing them on the forward-facing sonar. Like he just texted me literally 15, 20 minutes ago, said he had an 11 yesterday and 2 10s. And I know 100% him and his fiance are forward-facing sonar the entire time. And you kind of have to really understand your forward-facing sonar down there because there's so many fish. Like you drop that trolling motor in water and it just lights up. And you obviously can tell the giants from the not so giants, but there's so many fish in the water from the mix of tilapia to bass, and there's very few carp and things like that. But tilapia and bass, there's a lot of fish in the water. And yes, just throwing a free rig and throwing a crankbait, shaky head or wobble head. That was the deal all week long, and it was so fun to catch fish on a 6XD and 8XD. You're catching 7, 8, 9-pounders, and you're just man, it was amazing. It was definitely.
Did you fly into Mazatlan too? And
no,
then...
I kind of luck out with my deal because I live in Southern California, and you know out here where with your fiance being from Orange County, we simply can just drive down from Southern California because I live in Camarillo, which is in Southern California. I drive down to what they call the CBX. That's the cross-border exchange. So I took a flight from Tijuana, Mexico, to Culiacan, Mexico.
Okay.
It's so amazing how much more cheaper that was because initially I searched the flight and I was looking for a flight that was going to travel along with Josh and the rest of the guys through Phoenix. So I was going to go LA, Phoenix, Culiacan. And that was like almost $800 for that flight. But then once I researched the CBX, because my brother put me up on game, because my brother is a hardcore saltwater guy who always fishes Cedros. He's like, hey, bro, you might want to go through CBX and go that route. It worked. The flight was only $400, so I'm saving $400 there. And of course, I had to pay for parking at CBX and the cross-border exchange fee, which is only like $25. But I literally saved at least $300 just by going through Tijuana, from Tijuana to Culiacan, Mexico.
Ballsy.
Yes. And yes. You know what? It's funny you say that, Matt, because I thought it was going to be, and I'm not trying to sound some type of way, but I thought it was going to be way more like scuzzy when I got down there.
Sketchy.
Yeah, like sketchy. But the CBX was really, really nice. And I'm lightweight bougie. I'm not going to lie. And, I like nice things and like comfort. And I at no point did I feel like, oh, this is not it,
Yeah.
And so that whole process was fine. Of course, you kind of have to adapt because, you're flying on Volaris Airlines, which is primarily an Hispanic airline. Mm-hmm. So all the safety announcements and all the flight attendants, everything's in Spanish. They do give a few things translated in English, but for the most part, everything's in Spanish. But I was able to make my way without any hiccups or anything like that. I did put a post up the other day. I took my own rods with me on this trip.
I noticed that.
Yes, I don't think I'm going to be doing that again in the future. One of the reasons why I did that is because I wanted to catch the double digits. And this is honestly, those are my first 2 double digits of my life. So,
congrats.
Yes, thank you. So I wanted to catch these. I kind of had, obviously you going down there, you kind of have an idea there's a high chance that you're going to catch a double digit. So I wanted to do it on my rods, like the rods I own and that I fish with. That was the main reason why I took my own rods. I have a travel tube and all that because I've traveled to to Fork and Lake Austin and other places and other destinations like that before. But I probably won't do that again, especially because Pro Bass Adventures, they also have loaner rods. So you legit don't have to take any rods if you go through Pro Bass Adventures, because the tackle shop is fully stocked with, high level rods that you can take out, and all you need to do is bring your reel, spool with 20-pound test, and you're good to go. So
that's what I did. I had a couple that are shipped down there, but at El Salto, I was like, dude, he said that they upgraded them, and we got down there this year, and it's just like G Loomis, like all sorts
Dobbins,
of different,
yes.
G Loomis and Dobbins primarily, and they're all like, they're nice rods.
No, he had GLXs. I'm a Phoenix rods guy myself, but I know good rods when I know good rods through the history of fishing. When I went in the store and I saw Loomis GLXs for loaner rods, I'm like, these are loaner rods? These rods are like $500 a pop. So yeah, it was a good deal. So that was my key learning is the rod thing. I wouldn't change anything else about the trip. I know I mentioned the other day, the ride from Culiacan to Baccarac is pretty long as far as like traveling in the van. But,
what makes a lake good. If it was accessible to everybody and you could just roll down there and dump your rig in it, then fishing wouldn't be like that. Like that's the same thing with El Salto. Like, yeah, you're flying into Mazatlan, you're getting on a van, you're driving an hour and a half from it. There's no public launch ramps on the lake. There's very few. That's what makes it a great lake.
What's funny? It's funny you say that, because my brother was asking me, he's like, dude, why is that lake so good? And I really couldn't figure it out. I thought it was the tilapia or something, but that is a good point. It gets pressure from, the guests, but there's no random guys driving down to Baccarac and launching their boats. No.
Yeah.
So,
anyway.
Another thing is I want to give props to the staff and everyone down there, at Pro Bass Adventures, from my guy, Tonito, and the entire staff, Juan and Joshua and everybody else down there. Those people do a fantastic job. They roll out the red carpet, and they're on point with everything. So I look forward to going again. I thought about going to El Salto, but because I believe you have a group going down in El Salto later this year, right?
Yeah, December 9th through 15th.
Okay, 9th through the okay, that's a nice little trip. But I was always told that El Salto has more numbers than the doubles.
Yeah, so in the years that I've been down to El Salto, we average about. I've never caught a 10 out of El Salto, but I've probably caught 15 9-pounders. All scaled on that in the time.
Yes,
but it is like you might go out and throw a vixen or a spook one morning and have 38 to 42 pounds in an hour and a half on one stretch.
Jeez.
Which it's just, or, when you go out that like, if you roll a 5'8" Kitech next to this tree, that one between 5 and 9 is just going to lock it up.
Right.
And they keep getting bigger and bigger. So this year I expect, more 10-pounders with the year class fish they have. But it was your guide. Like I always have, we have OL, JOEL, fish with him. And like, you could tell when he thought it was a big one, because he would, you'd hook one and be like, oh yeah. And he would just sit there and he'd be like, oh yeah, it's a nice fish. You could tell he's just like getting ready to land it. But like, there were a couple times every year where like you hook one and it comes up and you see him like grab the net, start getting everything ready, stand up. And you're like, okay, if he thinks this is a big one, it's a big one. Like you can definitely tell when the guy thought it was game day.
Yes, you're 100% correct. Those guys see so many fish, because they spend countless hours out there. I dumped one fish on a crankbait. It was that he said that was close to 10. So I was very, very disappointed. That was the first one I hooked that he thought was 10. But the one that I landed, the first one, the 10-7, soon as I hooked it, and the look on his face, he was like, "Yep, double," meaning double. So 10 pound, they know exactly what they're doing. They're dialed in, and they give them the right equipment. Those guys are all rocking Bubba nets and the Bubba scales, because I was scaling anything that I had that I felt was 7 or better. I was putting on the scale. Like I wanted to know. I didn't want to. I didn't want anybody to be like, "Oh, I thought it." I'm not a guy who just, I'm not.
Yeah, you want to know what it weighs.
Make up numbers, I don't want to make up numbers. I want to know for sure what's happening, and how big this fish was. So my boy Obadi from Northern California, he calls it the actual factuals. And I love that. He always, when you get the scale out, he goes, "Oh, it's time to get the actual factuals." And that's exactly what we're doing. So shout out to
he's the guy who's like, you gotta go out and protect your waters, right?
Yeah, well, he's the guy who always says dupe, and he came up with a lot of these terms that Mark Daniels and the other guys down there.
Is he still he's still fishing?
Yes, absolutely. He is definitely heavy into the kayak world now.
Okay.
But he just won the Wednesday nighter like last week.
Wait, wasn't he on like Team USA kayak one time or something like that?
Yes, he was.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Man,
I do want to say something. Like, you amaze me. Like, every time I watch your show or listen to it, watch and or listen. A lot of times I'm just listening because I'm driving my truck on the highway, so I can't watch it, but I'm listening. You amaze me with the knowledge you have, bro. So I just want to give you your flowers on how you just always have the facts about, no matter how far these guys go back. Now, I've been fishing my entire life. I'm 49 years old. I turned 50 this November. That's why I'm going back to Baccarac, because I turned 50 in November. So I know the history of, all the way back to Orlando Wilson and, Jimmy Houston way back in the days. And you just amaze me, bro, with the amount of knowledge you retain from this fishing game. So major props.
It's a blessing and a curse. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rod. I appreciate it. Dude, you've got a chance to do a 50-pound bag on your 50th birthday. Like, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I'm just saying, like, that would be pretty savage to do. That could happen very easily.
It's so funny because that's exactly what I told myself. I'm going to call it 50 for 50. So, and that's a good time of the year to be down there, around November, December. I hear it's, more of a top water deal and shore pounding, which is cool as long as I'm not pitching or flipping. Because I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not paying to go anywhere to pitch and flip and punch. No. And I'll do
chunk and wind or chunk and drag.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I've been to Gunnersville recently with Phil Dutra, and we were punching. And it was cool. It was fun. We were catching fish, but it's just, I just can't stand picking my bait every cast.
He knows his stuff, too.
And yes, and I just don't I like the thrill of fighting a fish and pulling drag and enjoying the experience of, landing that fish instead of just jack pulling them out of the grass. Oh, there's one, boop. Oh, he's in the boat. Like, that's just not my deal. Of course, everybody's got their thing. I'd much rather burn a 6XD and get slammed by 7 to 10 pounders.
I'll let you, like I said, I'll let you go take care of your civic duty. Thank you for jumping on, Rod. I appreciate it. And congrats on the first 2 double digits down there at Pro Bass Adventures at Lake Baccarac.
I appreciate it. I wish I could have went 3 for 3, because I wish I could have had, 1 on each day, but one can't complain with just one. Because when I went down there, I was saying, just give me just one. One. And once I made that happen, I kind of was like, okay, I'm good now. I'm ready to go home. But
nice.
We kept fishing.
Definitely worth a follow at Rod Wynn Fishing, RODWYNN Fishing on Instagram and all your social media channels.
Yes, sir. I appreciate that.
Appreciate it. Have fun. Thanks, dude.
Thanks for having me, Matt. Appreciate it, man. Everybody take care.
All right. That is the one and only Rod Wynn, or Reality Wynn, as he's called. We're going to take our final break of the show, and we come back. One of the coolest things, and I'm working on getting him on the show, one of the coolest things that has happened in my recent memory in this stratosphere of tournament fishing took place 2 days ago to Garrett Smith and Andrew Blanton. I want to talk about that a little bit when we come back and wrap things up. BTL on a Monday.
Your early morning mentality is your every hour mentality. All gas, no brakes. Focus, purpose, power. Destined for the water, but confident everywhere else. A calming buzz before the storm, the truth of nature itself. You can't catch lightning in a bottle. There's a limit out there, but it's not with your gear. Unrelenting power delivery. Unparalleled weight savings. Keeping you on the water, whether you run a 9.9 or outscoping your best 5. In this rare air, there's power in the silence. It's a mindset, thinking only of the things that matter and freeing your mind from the things that you trust.
Hey guys, Brian Schmidt here with Spro. I'm going to talk to you about the confidence I have in the equipment I use. You know, I have a charter boat business back home in Maryland. We fish for saltwater fish, and I also fish the Bassmasters Elite Series. So I keep my lights on by fishing. I have to have a lot of confidence in the equipment I use. Spro has me covered from head to toe, saltwater, freshwater, everything in between. A lot of high-end quality product. Spro has you covered.
All right, wrapping things up, BTL here on a Monday. We've covered a lot of things. We covered Drew Cook winning a major tournament, and then we had Rod Wynn on. He was talking about just a fun fishing trip down to Baccarac in Mexico, plugging them, free rigging them. Over the weekend, I have to take a deep breath to get this out because it's like 19 words for the title. The 2025 Strike King Bassmaster College National Championship presented by Bass Pro Shops took place on Lake Cherokee over there in Tennessee. And Andrew Blanton and Garrett Smith won that event in a sudden death fish off. So they go out on Cherokee, they fish for 3 days. Now this puts them I think they were in the bracket anyway, but this puts them at the top. They're national championships. They're also back-to-back classic bracket qualifiers. And basically, I'm going to read it here. This is how it went down. And I want to get these guys on because this just sounds like I would have lost my mind if this had happened to me when I was 19, 20, 21 years old. Deadlocked at 43-3 at the conclusion of the weigh-in. Both teams, Turner and Sumrell, I believe were who they were tied with. Both teams returned to the lake knowing the first team to catch a legal keeper bass would be declared the winner. Blanton and Smith's primary area was over 20 minutes away from the takeoff at the TVA Cherokee Dam launch. And I've been to Cherokee before, and you come out of the ramp and you hang a left, and then there's like all this riprap, and then there's like, if you were a Game of Thrones fan, there's like a dam, and it's literally like the wall. Like you're like, holy cow, that thing's really huge, and you can actually go right up to it, and then it's just a long stretch of riprap, probably a quarter mile riprap, and then you hang a right, and then you can go out to the whole lake. So like if you're trying to catch a fish, like you come out, you look to the left, it's just riprap and dam. That's all there is. So Blanton and Smith's primary area was over 20 minutes away from takeoff at the TVA Cherokee Dam launch. So instead of wasting valuable time running, they made a very short run to the dam and found a promising rock pile. We stopped at the dam knowing that the other team, was probably going to catch a fish before we made it to our best spots. Within 5 minutes, I saw some sitting perfectly on a boulder. First cast through in there, bit his jig. Once Smith netted the largemouth, about 2.5 pounder, they quickly confirmed it measured 15 inches. So like, they catch it. You have to watch the clip. I wonder if it's on Bassmaster.com. It's gotta be on Bassmaster. Anyway, look up that clip. It's a guys that won the national championship on the final cast. So I'm working on getting them on the show, and then also Dave Rush live from iCast on Wednesday. Maybe Wednesday, Thursday. I don't know. We'll figure out when Dave can do it exactly from iCast, but we will be live from iCast. He's actually kind of the same thing that we did at the Classic. He's going to try to walk the floor a little bit, see what he can get, and then back on Thursday with Frank Scalish. So big shout out to Drew Cook, to Rod Wynn, and to all of you guys jumping back on a Monday. Same time, same place tomorrow. We'll talk to everyone then. See ya.